and welcome to the 145 Rural Podcast, where we are here to strengthen music careers and communities one song at a time. And now, here's your host, Jacob Wing. Yay!
Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's episode, where we're just going to go over 10 quick tips to keep in your back pocket, as we stated earlier, that will help you when you're making and creating your music or performing or whatever it may be, so that you know that your product that you invested all your time, hard effort, and creativity into isn't getting watered down or ruined by these little things that can be easy to overlook. So let's just get right into our list. Number one, we're going to start, of course, going from kind of the beginning of the music making process or playing process or whatever it may be towards the end of that process. So it's kind of a little chronological, but these can be listened to or are used at any interval of your process. So, like I said, number one here, we're going to hit up right away is that you need to remember instrument tuning. And it's super important. If you are working with any other musician in any capacity, you need to have that instrument tuned. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's a guitar or piano or it's a drum, it has to be tuned to make sure that when you're performing with other artists, it's not clashing or pulling somebody out of that moment that you're trying to share with them. And this is a very quick way for that to happen. Tuners are out there everywhere. They're cheap, but I'm going to post a picture now if you're watching on YouTube, and I'll post a link in our details for a strobe tuner, which I would highly recommend using. It's just as easy to use, but slightly more accurate. Here I'll show a Peterson stomp tuner. It can be put in on any pedal board, or it can connect to anything that uses any kind of output for audio. Super easy to use, and we'll go into more maybe detail in another video on how to use one of these. If it becomes a problem, just put it in the comment. And you haven't used one you'd like to know, just put it in the comments. We'll make a video on that. But just having something to tune and make sure that you're in tune at all times, either when you're recording or performing for other people, make sure that's the step that you're hitting, number one. Number two, and moving on, you should at all times be using some sort of a click track, some sort of metronome that makes sure that, again, if you're playing with other musicians, that you're on that same page and that you're making art at the same rate. If you get off time, that's fine. If it's just here and there, little bits, that's fine. That's part of being human. And that's kind of what makes making music interesting. But if you're falling out of time and somebody's speeding up and everything's kind of out of whack and it feels weird, again, that's something that pulls listeners out and will ruin that product that you spent so much time and effort making. If you're recording, have a click track. If you're practicing, use a metronome. They're cheap, they're affordable. You get one on your phone. There's an app. They look great if you want to decorate your room, your studio, your practice area, whatever it is. Getting a metronome looks great. So make sure that you have something to keep yourself in time and everybody else on the same page. Number three, I'm going on to being mindful of all outside noise. So there's a lot of quick tips or, how to make great recordings or how to get great audio. And they're going to tell you to treat your room. Make sure your room's right. Make sure the room that you're using is got all this fancy, expensive things all over the walls. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's kind of a load of crap. There was a time when that was really important, but there's a lot of top-notch software out there that can take the noise or the background of a room and remove it. And we will have a dedicated video again just for this. But you should know what your noise is on a consistent basis and which direction it's coming from. And again, we've talked about this in other videos, but just be mindful of where that is coming from so that you can either point your microphones or whatever you're using to record away from that to kind of weaponize what you have as your equipment to make sure that you're getting the least amount of interference and ambient noise in the background and make it easier later down the road so that you don't have to deal with that. Number four, take multiple passes or do multiple takes when you're doing any kind of recording or something where you have a control of the time and the area of where you're doing this thing. Just do it a couple times. It's fine if that first take felt amazing, do a second or third one. Make sure you've got 2 or 3 takes that feel great, and you will thank yourself so much going down the line. Having those backups can mean the difference between a amateur sounding recording, something you settle for later down the line because you don't want to go back and record everything again. Those kind of things, just taking that little extra bit of time or moments can really save a recording, can save a performance. So always take a little bit extra time on that.
Hi there, and welcome to the ad break. We're just going to take a moment to let everybody know about our community of growing members, and if you'd like to be a part of that, just look at the info below and there will be a click there for an email sign up to join in and get your voice heard. As well as you're enjoying this content, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/145rural. There you can join any of our groups, and you can add to the discussion of what topics we will choose that will help you and hopefully future members of our groups, as well as join monthly Q&As and other such benefits. Again, that's patreon.com/145rural, and we look forward to seeing you there. Now, back to that regularly scheduled episode, and enjoy that content. Thanks again.
So we're down to halfway through the list, number 5. So if you're doing anything where the human voice is involved, make sure you're using a pop filter. Very important. So that's just one of those screens. We have a picture of it on the screen right now. We'll have a link in the details of where you can get a nice, good, cheap one to use. And the importance of these is just that it breaks up that wind. Sound is just a wave moving through the air. And when you perform something with a p or a bud, like anything that moves air in a rapid pace, it'll hit the diaphragm of the microphone and make it move faster or slower. And these things really start to stick out, especially when you start adding compression or EQ to something. Those things really stand out, and it's really hard to filter them out later with post-production without there being some kind of sacrifice or loss in the process. When it's just an easy $10 fix when you could have done in the beginning, you can remove those and not have to lose part of what you were creating because you had too much sibilance going on and you had to remove that. So easy fix. Number 6, headphones. If you are a newer musician or wherever part you are in your career where you're moving from songwriting and performing to maybe you want to record your own music, having a good pair of headphones is incredibly important. And it can save you a lot of money to not have to invest in speakers and monitors. Having the right set can be great. And I'm giving our own suggestion here. I use the Audio-Technica. They're fantastic. And there's a version what does both recording and you can mix in them quite well. They do great. There's a flat response, so it's not like you're adding to any frequencies or taking any frequencies. The ones that we use in studio for talent to use when they're recording is the MTX 30s, I believe. And those have a little bit of a curve on them where they are, I believe, they are scooped at 5K and then they have a little bit of a bump going up at 10K, and it makes it kind of sound nice for anybody that's doing recordings, but you don't want to mix in something like that. So if you go up to the ones I'm recommending here, and again, a link down below, the MTX 40s have a flat response and they have a closed back, which is fantastic because you want that when you're recording because no noise is getting out. Sometimes musicians like to have something called an open back, which lets them take in sound from around them, but also amplify whatever sound they want to hear. But in recording situations, you don't want that bleed into the microphone. So closed back is something you have to have whatever you go for. Now let's move on to number 6. And for that one, we're going to talk about microphone selection. Now, we have done a great video on if you need your first studio mic and first dynamic studio mic. We have a great recommendation for a good one that's a great price and can do a lot of things. We'll link that right now. It'll be at the end of the video. It'll be in the show notes for the podcast. And that is just a fantastic first starter. But just when you go to all that trouble to make a great song, be very mindful of what microphone you're using to convey the sounds, because that matters. It is really that first line of contact when it comes to either amplifying what's going out to your audience as you're playing a live show, or what's going into your DAW or audio interface that's recording that. The right microphone is so important, and you cannot neglect this step. Not any old microphone will do for any situation. It's just not a thing. It makes a difference. Don't dilute the work you've done. Number 7 is right along with that. So 6 and 7 go together perfectly, is the microphone placement. And that is incredibly important again. And again, we're going to link another video that we went to all the trouble to show you how to play the audio back, make a recording, and place your microphone while that recording is playing, so you get the perfect placement, either for a guitar cab, bass cab, or recording like a piano, anything like that, where you can produce the sound at the point, play it back through, and hear it again if you don't have any other options. But making sure that mic is placed exactly where it's supposed to be. Even with vocals, you want to make sure you have the right distance between you and that microphone, and that can make all the difference in getting the right sound. So don't neglect taking that little bit of extra time, that extra step to make sure it's in that right position. The next thing I want to go over, of course, is number 9 on our list here. And we're going to talk about backing up your work. This one doesn't have anything to do with audio, but it's one of those things that as you're doing your work, you're putting all your effort into writing these songs, capturing them, be it live or, live performance or a recording that you're going to share later. If you don't have that in 2 separate places, at least bare minimum, you are at risk of losing that. And at some point in your career, it's going to happen. Make sure you have a cloud backup system. You have a external hard drive. Right now, I'm going to post one right now, a great recommendation. You can put it on your key ring. It's very, very portable. There's no reason you shouldn't have multiple locations of these recordings so that you don't lose them, because once they're gone, I promise you it's impossible, or really a huge consuming of time to make it the same or to get it back to that same level. So always be backing up those things. Always make sure you have different locations for those files. And number 10 is something that we always kind of put off, especially if we're newer, or if we're in certain situations in rural parts of the world. But your music and your sound, those songs that you're making, will only get better if you choose to collaborate and ask for feedback. So taking the time to find somebody, seek them out that you like their work and you think you can do something unique together, can make you a better musician and help you grow as a person and an individual and an artist faster than anything else. And it's fine if you, like you say, if you have a certain genre that you fall under and a certain genre they fall under, you can make a one-off track together, and that can be its own thing. It can be fantastic. It gives you content to put out there. It gives you something new to drive, their audience towards you. Same thing, your audience towards them. It's always a fantastic thing. And you get to learn about their process. They get to learn about your process. And what you learn is invaluable. This is one of the best steps you can follow. Also, seeking out the right people to ask for the advice, people that will be truthful, honest. They don't worry about hurting your feelings, because we have ego. So you're going to get your feelings hurt when somebody tells you this isn't quite good enough. But sometimes you need to hear that, and you don't grow, or it takes you 5-10 years longer than it should have because you didn't want to hear the harsh words. But seek out that advice. Seek out those people that will tell you the truth. That's my advice for you. Those are 10 quick tips. I made this real quick for you, but these kind of things, these 10 things, will make sure that you don't water down the product that you've made just because you didn't think of these things. So I hope that helps out. If you have anything that we can either elaborate more on, just put in the comments. We're happy to do it. Anything you need help with, we're always available. Please like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Visit our Patreon. We have tons of free tools for you to use. No signups, no emails, No, nothing. Just free. Use it. Get better. That's why we're here. So thanks again. It was wonderful to have you guys. Can't wait to see you on the next one. And you guys have a great day. Bye.